Yeah, it's funny. I taught this, and Mitch Mender, who is one of the coaching clients, he charges 8 for what I charge for 6,500. So in the Happier Attorney, she talks about looking at your hourly, right? But I want to put this thing back up here for you to think about of value to the client, cost that they pay, and the price to you, which is generally your time, right? If you're starting out. Now, as you become bigger, then this becomes the actual amount of money you pay to an associate, right? And so there is an actual cost to you as well, right? Just kidding. This is supposed to be price, and this is supposed to be cost. This is what happens when I go rogue. So, what she is doing in the Happier Attorney is she's making you think about this because everyone here who has set up flat fees has grossly underestimated what this was going to be. However, the best way to price things is off of the value to the client because this gap you have to justify. This one you just have to explain. As soon as they see the difference between value and price, they will pay it every single time. This one, then every single time you work less, they're going to expect you to raise your or to reduce your price. And so this is why exchanging time for money is so bad because every time you work less, they want to pay you less. But correct me if I'm wrong. Would you rather be divorced tomorrow with everything you want or in 9 months with everything that you want? So just because it takes me less time doesn't mean it's worth less to you. In fact, it taking me less time is worth more to you. And the cool thing about focusing on the value to the client is you can then sleep at night with what you charge. And you can have those conversations with the client to make sure it's worth it to them. Because a motion to enforce for 15 minutes is going to be $3,000 of work. And so you might as well have that conversation with them and they understand it's going to be $3,000. And then they say, well, that's not worth it to me. Agreed. Let's not do 15 minutes is not worth 3,000. But when you can talk to them about the price up front, they won't do it. But then they're grateful. And then the next time when they do have something that is worth the $3,000, they'll happily pay it. Me convincing people to not hire me has been the best thing for my business. I just did this the other night. It's actually one of my chiropractors. His wife just texted me last night and she has an issue with her ex-husband. He had my cell phone number from his chiropractic business. Probably a misuse of, I'm pretty sure that's a breach of a doctor-patient privacy, right? But she texted me and asked me some questions and I happily took it. I'm not going to bust him for breaching my HIPAA for violations because he sent me a client. But we walked through it. And at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do this week for her. And she should have got her kid back and didn't. But there are some allegations of DCFS stuff. So I'm like, let DCFS do their investigation, but you have sole custody. So next Monday when school starts, those kids better be back in your house. So give DCFS a week, give him a week. If next week it's not working, then there's things I can do that should get the kids back pretty quickly. But if I do something this week, it's probably going to take 60 to 90 days anyways. And I walked her through like this option is 3,000, this option is 3,500. So next week it is going to be a hair more, but the $3,500 option should get you emergency relief in 2 to 3 days. And the $3,000 option is going to be in 60 to 90 days. And so why don't you write it out? Because if he gives you your kid back by the end of the week, you probably don't have to pay anything. And she is so grateful that I didn't. I mean, she would have paid me anything last night. I could have asked her for $10,000 and she would have given it to me. She was in that much pain. So walking her through, helping her feel heard, and then not taking her money, guarantee one, if she needs my services next week, she'll pay. And two, if she doesn't, any person she talks to about family law for the rest of her life, she's going to tell them about the integrity I had of not taking her money. But it's all about value. And so step one in creating flat fees, you do need to understand what it costs you, right? Like that is super important. And you have to make sure that your fee is enough to cover the gap between your time. Like it's got to be worth it to you. But then you only offer those services to people when the value to them is worth more than the cost. And so raise your rate though, is the short answer. If you're first starting out, whatever you think the number should be, double it is what Kishasa said. And you're probably right. My first number, I charge 6,500 now for what I originally charged $2,000 for when I first started this.
Chris, would it be beneficial to know what your overhead is for the entire month? So
Yes.
that way, at least you know that you're not going under it.
Yeah, absolutely. My elite, like one-on-one coaching that I do with people, and this is in AFU as well. It's in module 5, so you got to work to get there. But what we do in that program, the very first thing is I actually go through and we schedule your goals out, and that helps us identify your KPIs. And then we spend the rest of the first month going through this profit and loss statement where we figure out how much gross revenue you need to make. Then we go through your cost of goods sold, which is in legal services, it's the cost of your attorneys and paralegals, the people who are doing the work. And that gives you your net revenue. And then we do your compensation next because profit first says you pay yourself before you pay your expenses. Then you got to pay taxes. And then whatever's left over is for your operating expenses. Now, in actuality, right, if you have a team member, you have to pay them every month, whether you make money or not. So what the money coming out of your account is sometimes different than that. But when we create the budget, we do it this way. We go total gross revenue minus cost of goods sold minus profit. Whatever's left over is what you're allowed to spend on operating expenses. We make sure we know all of those numbers. That does really help you base your pricing. If you know you're getting 4 clients a month, then those 4 clients have to pay enough to make all these numbers balance out. If you're billing by the hour, that's really easy. But when you do flat fees, you do need to make sure that you're charging enough. What I'll tell you though, if you charge more, you can take less clients. And if you take less clients, you have more time per client to devote on their case. And if not time, you still have mental energy, right? There's only so many cases you can float in your head at one time. And so the quality of your work will go way up if you just charge more and have less clients. For our contested cases, that's what we do. So my hassle-free mediations, they take no mental energy. They come in, we mediate, and when their mediation's over, I'm done with their case whether they settle or not. I can't represent either side because I was the mediator. So it would be a conflict of interest. So I can charge $3,000 a pop for those, $1,500 each, and churn those out as quickly as many people as will come in because they require no mental energy. So people who fit into that, that's why my pricing structure is I have a low cost, easy to fulfill, and then if anybody wants to hire me to work with them, it's a high ticket service. You'll notice my coaching program is set up the same way. We have a $495 a month AFU, which is easy to fulfill because it's group coaching. So whether one of you shows up or 12 of you show up, honestly, the value of hearing other people's questions is still valuable to you, right? So there does come a point where there would be too many in these calls and we would need to have more calls, but we're not there yet. But it's easy to fulfill at this. So I can do that for a low price. In fact, if you compare what you get inside of Attorney Freedom University for $495, the exact same service at another company that I won't say their name because I don't want to talk bad about other people is $1,500. And there's another company that does it for $2,500, but you do get 2 in-person events for the $2,500. So you do get a little bit more than that.